It's gonna be May. Hey Tubi friends, another month is coming on, and I am here with another Tubi Tuesday recap. For those that don't know what Tubi Tuesday is, this is a monthly video where I highlight and lowlight my tops and bottoms of what I watched on Tubi this past month. You can follow all of my Tubi watches over at Tubi Tuesday on social media. I also post weekly picks here on YouTube and on TikTok. Just subscribe to the channel and you'll never miss any of my Tubi watches or picks. All right, it's time. Let's dig into my highlights and my lowlights for May. Okay, I watched 22 films in total on Tubi this past month. So I'm going to highlight and lowlight my top and my bottom 5 this month. So, as always, I always like to start at the bottom with the lowlights. And boy, let me tell you that the bottom one on this list was not good. Not good at all. But we'll get there. First on the bottoms is a film from 2020 called Fear Farm. 4 people enter a corn maze for Halloween and are picked off one by one by the twisted family who own the scare attraction. Now, overall, this movie could have been good. There was a sequel, Fear Farm 2, which was much better than this one. But this just kind of took a while to get going. There were a couple kills that weren't too bad. The family reminded me of like the Firefly family in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, those films. And just, I felt like the main actress in this family was trying to be that, and it just didn't work. And like I said, it was pretty dull. Like I said, the sequel was much better, but definitely you can skip Fear Farm. Next on the list is from 2016, and that is Dead Man Apocalypse. A team of military operators descend into the dark, savage world of Labyrinthia to save the dying Earth from a hellish apocalypse by retrieving the water stolen by the inhabitants below. Now, this movie was something else. You could tell that this movie didn't really have a budget for a post-apocalyptic world. It was basically wooden crates stacked up to make walls, the floor and walls and a ceiling, and you were going through this little tunnel the whole time. And the funniest part is it's like these little kid cars that they're sitting in going through this really narrow tunnel, and there's a chase scene. It's almost like a Mad Max style chase scene. And it's these grown adults in these little cars, and they're just like flying through this little tunnel. And this scene is absolutely hilarious. The movie is pretty dull and not really worth checking out, but if there is a clip of this little chase through the tunnel, I would highly recommend checking that out, because that is the only part that made it worthwhile for me. Other than that, Dead Man Apocalypse was not great. All right, next is from the master of horror, Wes Craven, and this is from 1978. It is a film called Summer of Fear. It also goes by Stranger in Our House. A teenage girl's life is turned upside down when her cousin moves into her house, and as the time goes by, she begins to suspect that she may be a practitioner of witchcraft. Now, like I said, this is done by Wes Craven. This was a made-for-TV movie. It stars Linda Blair, and overall, there are a few scenes that are okay, but it's just very slow to get through and just pretty dull. Like this, hour and a half movie felt like it was far longer, because the pacing, it just didn't get going. There were a couple scenes that were fine, but overall, this is Wes Craven's early work, and it's definitely not his best. Next is The Last Light from 2014. Seven strangers find themselves trapped inside an abandoned hospital after an unexplained apocalyptic event. So this movie is so boring. It takes so long to go anywhere. And when you kind of get to the point, you just kind of don't care once you get there. And it just was a slog to get through and just did not keep my attention at all. I was just like, come on, let's go, let's go. So definitely skip The Last Light. All right, the bottom of the barrel, the lowest of the low of my low lights for May is American Psycho 2, All American Girl from 2002. This stars Mila Kunis. Rachel Newman has developed a taste for murder and will stop at nothing to become a college professor's assistant. This movie is awful. It is a direct-to-video sequel to American Psycho, and you can tell that they just had a script for another film and decided they wanted to play off the popularity of American Psycho and slap the name on it, threw Patrick Bateman's name throughout the movie. I don't remember how many times. You could probably make a drinking game for how many times he's mentioned in the film, but this movie is terrible. They try really hard to do a lot of the stuff that you saw from American Psycho, like needle drops here and there that aren't very good. And it is just dull. It's boring. It's unexciting and not even worth your time to check out. I disliked American Psycho 2 so much and would not recommend checking it out. All right, enough with the bottoms. Let's move up and talk about the highlights for what I watched on Tubi this past month. First up is from 2016, and that is The Barn. It's Halloween 1989. Best friends Sam and Josh are trying to enjoy what's left of their final Devil's Night before graduating high school. But trouble arises when the two pals and a group of friends take a detour on their way to a rock concert, finding an old abandoned barn and awakening the evil inside. Now, the first time I saw this was probably 3-ish years ago, and I didn't really care for it. I just thought it kind of sucked. So I decided I wanted to give this a rewatch because I wanted to see the sequel that just came out. And so I was like, all right, it's on Tubi. I'm going to give it a rewatch. And I enjoyed it a whole lot more this time around. I think the first time I saw it, I just didn't appreciate what they were trying to do. Basically, they're just making a low budget 80s horror film. And the second time around with this rewatch, I found it to be much more enjoyable and I liked it a lot more. Ultimately, I did watch part 2, which I liked a lot more than this one. But The Barn, I mean, it's a pretty decent throwback horror movie that you should go check out. Next up is Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. Angela, supposedly reformed and living under an assumed surname, is working at a summer camp. However, when the campers start misbehaving, she soon reverts to her old ways. Now, I had always seen the first Sleepaway Camp with the surprising ending to that. And if you've seen it or pretty much know anything about horror, you probably know about the ending to Sleepaway Camp. So I had never watched any of the sequels. We did a summertime Tubi Tuesday theme, and it fit perfectly, summer camp, into that theme. So I watched part 2 and part 3, and part 2 was actually really enjoyable. It is quirky and silly and kind of a little weird, but it has some good kills, and it is just, I found it very enjoyable and would recommend checking out. I've seen Sleepaway Camp 1, 2, and 3, and as a trilogy, this is just a fun little trilogy of films to check out. So go check out Sleepaway Camp, all of them. Next up is Maniac Cop from 1988. A killer dressed in a police uniform begins murdering innocent people on the streets of New York. This, again, is another series that I had never seen, so I decided all 3 of the Maniac Cop movies are on Tubi, so I watched them all this past month. And the first one was quite enjoyable. It has Bruce Campbell in it, Tom Atkins, and just a very enjoyable film. It is dark. It is just a well-done movie, and would highly recommend checking out Maniac Cop. Next up is a full moon feature, Doll Man, from 1991. A hard-boiled intergalactic policeman lands on Earth, where he is 13 inches tall. Now, this movie is pretty funny, and it is just fun. Like it says, he's a intergalactic cop, and he's chasing the big baddie that he wants to get, who is basically just a floating head. And they end up on Earth, but on Earth, they're very small, so hence the name Doll Man. But he still is his cop, is still doing his thing, and it's just a fun little movie that you should check out. It's extremely 90s. It is full moon features at its best, and would highly recommend Doll Man. Last on the list is a Tubi original that just came out called Postocalypse. Now, this is from the co-creator of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. A billionaire celebrity chef seeks revenge on mankind when a global ban on gluten destroys his life. In the process, he disfigures to a hideous creature that threatens all humanity. This movie is an animated film. It is hilarious. It has some of that Aqua Teen Hunger Force humor to it. The voice of Master Shake is the voice of our lead in the film, and it has a army of pasta creatures that are terrorizing and killing people. It's definitely not an animated film to watch with your kids. It is bloody, it is obscene, but so much fun. Check out Postocalypse, the Tubi original. That is the top of what I watched this past month, and highly recommended. Well, there you go. There is my Tubi watches for this past month. You can follow along on Letterboxd. I keep lists of everything I watch every month, as well as all my Tubi watches overall. And for June and July, our next Tubi Tuesday recap is going to be combined to be the Summer of Tubi. So make sure you jump over to social media at Tubi Tuesday and follow the hashtag Summer of Tubi, as we are going to just have a fun summer from June 1st to July 31st watching Tubi films. Use the hashtag and let's see what everybody's watching. I'm going to have a few giveaways at the end of it from all the watches I see using the hashtag, so make sure you get involved. Let's have fun. Let's celebrate our favorite streaming service, Tubi, with the Summer of Tubi. Well, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss any more of these Tubi Tuesday monthly recaps or any of my weekly picks. I'll be back soon with a new video. And remember, Tuesdays aren't just for tacos. We'll see you later, everybody.